My unit, salute. We got a good show coming at you today. Packed, jacked, and stacked. Amped up. April 30th of the year 2025. The last day of April. Can't believe the month has come to a close. WrestleMania will officially be in the rearview mirror after today. It was a couple weeks later this year. So everything was kind of off kilter. It gave the company a couple extra weeks to build storylines. Who would have thought? Who would have thought if you give Hunter Helmsley 2 extra weeks, it would somehow be worse? But such was the case. But May is upon us. Big month for WWE for sure and AEW. But on the WWE front, of course, in just 10 days now, I believe. 10 days is Backlash. A couple weeks after that is Saturday night's main event. And then the next big event, I believe, is Money in the Bank. So that's all coming up for next month. But we're going to put a big exclamation point on this month. Again, we have a big show coming at you today. Today's amped up. We're going to talk NXT, a little bit of NXT from last night, and why I changed the channel after the first segment. I went back, saw what I had to see so I can talk about it, but I was not happy. At first I was, because I believe... You know. And then how that segment ended, I was just, come on, what are we doing? I mean, this group is absolutely doing nothing for BC, to the point where now I'm just changing the channel on it. So I'll talk about what that was, NXT. We'll talk AEW Collision. Did you guys see the number? Now, I understand NBA playoffs. I get it. But still, when you're looking at that number... And you know you just beat NXT's number from last week, man. You're taking the dub. You don't care how you got it. We'll talk about Collision shocking the pro wrestling world. Again, I understand the NBA playoffs. Trust me. Me more than anybody, man. My Knicks are in it. We just got a devastating loss last night in Madison Square Garden to the Pistons from Detroit. Not happy about it. But we'll talk Collision in that wild number. Tony Khan's probably taking that and running, not looking back like he just robbed the bank. We're also going to talk Talent. The latest story of Talent in WWE waving the red flag. And once again, telling the world how there's no transparency within those walls, man. Hunter Helmsley gives them no heads up on anything that's going on. And BC has told you time and time again why that is. I will tell you yet again why the talent is clueless in that company. And it begins with the fact that Hunter Helmsley is clueless. But I'll explain. We'll go over the latest story. It's wild, but I'm not shocked. And we'll talk about why that is and why Talent continues to be frustrated with Hunter Helmsley. We'll talk the Raw rating for last week. They're 7 days behind. That's how Netflix distributes numbers. So these will be the numbers for the post-Mania Raw. What we all believe is the biggest Raw of the year, right? So there's going to be an uptick. There's going to be a bump, but by how much? Globally, I think WWE would be pleased, including Netflix. US and domestic, not so fast. And that was actually an alarming number. So we'll go over that as well. And whatever else BC wants to talk about, basically. The main story today is going to be in kind of connection with yesterday's upload, which was featuring the Raw review. And today's main story is going to be discussing that main event more than anything, but really the show in totality, because a lot of backlash is coming off of that show last night. No pun intended, not to the PLE that's coming up in 10 days. Backlash from just the show not going off as WWE was hoping. And fans noticing that the show felt off, but the fans, a lot of fans, continue to give Hunter Helmsley a pass. Fans are blaming the city. They're blaming Kansas City, the crowd, for the show being bad. Especially in the main event. We all know that was a main event gone wrong. Sami Zayn getting annihilated. And the fans that's the one thing they enjoyed all night, it seemed. One more time, and cheering and singing with Seth. While their hero, supposedly, that's how they were hoping, WWE was hoping Sami Zayn would get that, hero's welcome. He's relatable, right? Sammy's relatable. Everyone loves Sammy. Well, if the product is bad and nobody cares, then no. You can love somebody, but you don't care anymore. Sadly, right? Like they just let it gone so far that it's just like you can't care anymore. It's sad to say that, but that's what happened. And fans started whipping out their cell phones. That's how bored they were. And fans are going, man, what a shitty crowd, man. This show could have been so much better if there was more energy and a better crowd. Hold up. What if? I'm just going to throw this at you. What if the show was just bad? What if we blamed Hunter Helmsley producing a bad show instead of a crowd that just was bored out of their dome pieces? What if? Right, just asking the question, but of course it's rhetorical because we already know the answer. This show absolutely sucked. We talked about it for over an hour in yesterday's review. You guys rocked that review out, by the way, because so many of you guys, the majority of you guys, felt the same way as BC. It was beyond boring. It was boring to another level. Forget never going back and watching a damn thing on that show ever again, twice. But you can't even talk about any of this the next day with your friends at the water cooler or at school or at recess or with the boys and gals at the job site, at your work, at the cubicle for 5 to 10 minutes. You just want to talk some WWE wrestling. What's there to talk about? How Jey Uso super kicked Logan Paul? You're going to talk for 5 minutes about how... I really don't... There was nothing. Well, Pat McAfee standing on the commentary table and challenging Gunther. Braun Breaker beating Sami Zayn for the 85th time. Because yes, we've seen that plenty of times in the past already. Braun Breaker's only been on the main roster for a cup of coffee. I've already seen that match 85 times. What do you want people to talk about? Judgment Day War Raiders? Do you see how Penta Penta pushed JD McDonald's? It was riveting television. You had to see it. And then he danced on the table like only Penta can do. Come on, man. What do you want KC to do? Fake enthusiasm and excitement like maybe the WWE shills have been doing for years? Under Hunter Helmsley the last 2 years for sure. That's what we're going to start off with. And I'm not going to make you wait. We're going to jump right into it. Because a lot of you guys coming off of that review and you're like, BC, man, thank goodness somebody is viewing this like I am. Like I'm watching this 2.5 hours. It's so damn boring. Nothing is exciting. Nothing seems to make sense. Nothing is fun. Nothing is leading to something that I just can't wait to see. Nothing is leaving me on the edge of my seat. There's no really good storylines. The one storyline, the interlocking thread from Monday Night Raw was Sami Zayn's decision. Should I stay or should I go now? Do I stay and get my ass whooped by Braun Breaker or do I leave and go to SmackDown? And you guys were calling out so much just like absolute BS in the story as well. The story was not even well thought out. Forget the fact that it's just a bad story. Who cares if Sami Zayn's leaving to go to SmackDown or not? Nobody cares. The guy was not even at WrestleMania. Nobody batted an eyelash. They don't know what they're doing with Sami Zayn. For the last 2 years, he's been getting in everybody's business. Nobody more so than Seth Rollins. This is not the first time he's come out to the ring to tell Seth he's not happy with how he's conducting himself. Thank you, Papa Zayn. Then he's having another match with Kevin Owens for the 946th time. Then he's kept off of Mania and television. Then all of a sudden he shows back up because he's not happy with Seth again. And now we have to wait 2.5 hours to find out if this schmuck is going to SmackDown. Who cares? I'm sick of just being generous just so fans are not all up in their feels, right? As a critic, I can now do this much more free because Hunter said we're not real fans because we critique the product. Cool. Now we're critics. So now I can say even more amplified than ever before that people like Sami Zayn, if that's how they're going to be booked, then don't be shocked if that's the reaction he's going to get live. Nobody's going to care. And when we talk about this, we're going to be honest and say Sami Zayn is a mid-carder at best. If that's how you're booking the dude, and there's no connection, there's no feel, then nobody cares about Sami Zayn. I'm sick of acting like Jey Uso at the top of the mountain holding a championship and Sami Zayn as your big storyline on Monday nights in the year of 2025. Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, that these are the individuals that are leading us into the promised land. No, I'm not going from Hogan and Savage and Warrior and Austin and Rock and Taker to even Batistas and Cenas to Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. I'm not doing it. Or you better book them so damn good, so damn properly that I feel that they're at that level. Sami Zayn could. There was times where it looked like he was on the cusp, like that bloodline angle. If that was produced much more pristinely, maybe that was a time to do something with Samuel Zayn. Jey Uso as a singles wrestler, not even close, but that's been a botch from day one. No way. I don't care about he's 6% more in t-shirt sales. The crowd yeets now. Doesn't matter. The dude as a singles wrestler absolutely sucks. As a tag team wrestler, it's one of the best tag teams in the world. As a singles wrestler, it might be one of the worst singles wrestlers I've ever seen on the planet, and I've seen decades of wrestling. Jey Uso on his own is just a bad singles wrestler. It sucks to say that. Now he's holding a world championship. He's super Uso. He's tapping out people like Gunther to his own move in 8 seconds. And I'm supposed to sit back and go, this is good. Because he deserves it. He's been there forever. Good for Jey, right? We all like Jey. And Sami, we like Sami. He's relatable, too. So I want to see him get a championship. Let's get everyone we like, let's just give them championships. Because they deserve it, and it's a feel-good moment. That mindset is destroying professional wrestling. Let's just give everybody it, man. Throw R-Truth a couple of titles because we love R-Truth. He's funny. He's been there forever. He deserves it. Throw Tozawa a championship or two. Fuck it. He deserves it. Throw McDonald's, JD McDonald's from the Judgment Day. Throw him a championship. Put him in the main event of Mania. It'd be fun, right? Yeah, he's a good wrestler, basically. I'm telling you, man. He's got the chops. He can be a main event of Mania. And then you wonder why the business is going backwards. Because we're going from Stone Cold to Jason Uso. Because we're going from The Rock to Samuel Zayn. We're going from The Undertaker to JD McDonald's. When did this bullshit stop? When does it stop? Well, when the person at the top says we're no longer fans, so we can fuck off. Well, we're not going to fuck off. We're going to keep watching because we were watching before you took over this company. Before you even got into this company, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, we were watching and loving this. So now, okay, we won't be fans. We'll be critics. But you better accept the ass whooping that goes along with that. Because now we're not going to wait for you to peel back the curtain for the show Unreal. We will rip it down and burn it for you. And show you exactly, we will expose exactly every detail that is fucking this company up since you took over, Hunter Helmsley. Because that's what's happening. This company is all sorts of fucked up. Talent doesn't even know what they are. Faces or heels, they're telling Fightful, can you find out for us? And Sean Ross Sapp is like, I don't know. If you don't know, then how? I'll try. Talent is asking reporters, can you find out what we are? Because I don't know, and Hunter's not telling us. Talent didn't even know if they had a WrestleMania match or not. The day before Mania, people are still trying to find out. Is there a match being added? Am I in? Am I going to be with Randy Orton maybe? Nobody knew. Nobody knew. There's no transparency. Faces are taking on faces, which nobody wins because then you outface the other face, whoever wins. Heels are taking on heels. One heel is going to out-heel the other heel. Nobody wins. Everybody's 50-50 booked. And the person on all the interviews and doing all the commercials and the podcast and the face of the company somehow is Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the guy who's not even a wrestler. He's supposed to be spending all his time behind the scenes, chief of content. Instead, when he is doing any chiefing of content, he's allowing the cameras in to put on a show. So you're not getting the best of Hunter Helmsley when he actually does have a creative pen, or, I'm sorry, it's Hunter Helmsley, his coloring book and crayons. You're not getting the best of him because he's got to put on a performance. There's cameras. You're not the same when the cameras are right. There's 3 or 4 big Netflix cameras on you. You're putting on a show at that point. You're doing things for the shock and awe. You saw the teaser for this fucking Netflix show, right? Where he goes up to Jey Uso and the cameras are on it. We're going to put a rocket on you, kid. I'm going to put the whole rocket on you. Yeah. They wanted that moment. Whoa, this dude that's a tag team guy is going to get the whole company rocket. Whoa, this is going to make good television. Maybe for WWE's, what are they calling it? I already forgot what it is. Unreal. That's what it, that was going to bug me. Unreal. That's, how could I forget, right? It's their play on words. To remind everybody that it's not real. It's unreal. And we're going to show you how unreal it is, how fake it is. We're going to show you how every part of the decision-making process unfolds. And of course, Hunter Helmsley would be leading the charge to expose the business. More than Dwayne Johnson. I didn't think that was possible. Johnson can do a segment, 5 minutes later be in a press conference, exposing every single conversation that was had to make that segment pull off. He could get beat down Cody Rhodes, the show goes off there, and 5 minutes later, he'll be talking about how him and Cody just had some tequila, and they were laughing about the segment because it went off without a hitch. Good to know. Way to let us digest what we just witnessed so we can suspend the disbelief for just a fucking day even. Just a day. This company's in shambles, bro. So then you go back, right? Let's not get too off track here. Let's go back to Monday night. You have this show on Monday Night Raw where the biggest storyline is Samuel Zayn and a decision to be on Seth's good side or just leave the brand. And you wonder why nobody cares. Because nobody cares about Sami Zayn. He's relatable. We like him. He should have been a champion by now. He should have been in main event. There's all this talk, right? Because that's what the markiest of marks want to say. We want to say that about all these wrestlers, right? Because that's 2025. Participation trophy. Everybody deserves everything. I get it. I do. But that's not how the world should be working. That's not how that's not how pro wrestling can work. You need larger than life wrestlers, especially at the top. Storylines that captivates us, and feuds that culminate at a PLE that we can't wait to pay for, whether it's $10 on a streaming service or whether you charge $50. We gotta see it. So you take out the wallet and you say, which card? That feeling isn't there anymore. The company, it seems, can't be bothered with these PLEs. They can't be bothered to put together a good card to present to us. It's last minute. It looks like they don't even want to. It's like they're not having fun for sure, creatively. They just want to get it done. It's the laziest of booking and creative. And you always have to blame the guy at the top. In this case, it's Hunter Helmsley. He's the chief of the content, and he's just concerned with being the face of the company. And everybody blowing smoke up his ass. And everybody praising him. And you saw that for Mania Week when he had one of the worst media blitzes I've ever seen. He went on a media tour, and instead of promoting Mania, or even his stupid little Hall of Fame that he spent 1 hour and 7 minutes with his speech, the longest in company history. The longest. But he was caught off guard. Oh my goodness, I didn't even know I was being inducted. Let me just put together the longest speech ever. What the fuck? Hunter Helmsley. You'd have thought this was Hulkamania going in there, bro. Stephen Austin. Taker. It's the cerebral assassin Hunter Helmsley, man. Who, thank goodness for him, Vince booked him as a diabolical heel. Otherwise, he'd literally just be the Greenwich snob Hunter Helmsley. But Vince knew what to do with him and who to put him with. Top faces versus heels to make him look and be a diabolical heel. These are all things that Hunter no longer does. That's why I call it internal sabotage. Purposely, consciously, not subconsciously. So they're just not having fun with this. They're not, I mean, you'd hear stories back in the day when they were booking Raw, and they'd all be by Vince's pool. And it would be Vince McMahon, it would be Vince Russo, maybe a Matthew Patterson. Maybe Ed Ferreira would be there, but the writers would be around. And you'd hear stories of, Linda would be bringing in the lemonade. Maybe it was spiked. Who knows? Most likely. They'd be playing pranks on one another, like in the middle of the writer meeting, which again is at Vince's pool. In the middle of the meeting, Vince will just get up and throw somebody in the pool. They just had fun. Vince Russo tells stories that they'd be watching Jerry Springer and just be like, dude, what if we did X, Y, and Z with some of these characters that we have? And for her, it'd be like, nah. But if we twist it, and then all of a sudden it would play off, and it would be like, we'd go to school the next day, like, did you see that? It was fun because they were having fun. And just being creative, man. I mean, you got to love what you do. If you're a creator, if you're going to call yourself a chief of content, I hope you're loving what you do and not just loving the title or playing the Vince McMahon of the company. Everybody looks at me now. I lowered my voice a little bit more. I got some more bass. And I'm Papa H. I don't want to do the work, and I can't even do the work. I don't have a creative asset within me. But as long as everybody looks at me like this is my era and business is booming, then we're all good. No, you have to truly encompass this. Instead of an hour and 7-minute speech, you know what you do? You make it 15, 20 minutes, and you spend the extra 40 some odd minutes writing creative instead of your speech. Vince McMahon wouldn't even be on that stage. Doesn't matter who tried to present. Stephanie, Shane, Linda, everybody could be up there saying, no, you're going in, and he's not going on that stage. And even if you did get him, he'd give you 60 seconds of a speech because he's got business to do with WrestleMania and the plans and what's happening. Even if it's bad, at least he's putting his time into that. I bring all this up because you see this in the shows, right? It's draining. I think I put that in the headline in yesterday's review. My headline actually was like a show that'll absolutely drain your energy and put you to sleep. That's Monday Night Raw in a nutshell. And it wasn't a bed of roses the last 5 to 10 years under Vince McMahon either, by the way. That's not what we're talking about. That's a different type of bad, and that was really bad. This is a whole nother level of bad I never even thought existed, where nothing even makes sense. It's confusing. Faces versus faces, heels. You guys already know the spiel. And all of it together is just making this not fun. And you can tell that they're putting zero effort and energy into it. You can tell that. And we would hope so anyway, because if they were putting energy and effort and this is the best they can come up with, then that's a whole nother level of issues that we have. That's why I say I hope that's the case, because at least maybe we can get people in that can change that culture. But if they are putting effort and energy and this is what we're getting, like this Mania season and that Mania and this past Monday Night Raw, wow, they're in a world of shit and so are the fans. But I bring that up because it leads us into this Monday Night Raw and why I had to go nearly an hour and 7 minutes, a whole Hunter Helmsley Hall of Fame speech. I had to do a review on this show. I think it was $1.07, wasn't it? How ironic. But I had to review this the most honest way imaginable, especially as a critic now, no longer a fan. So I even have more due diligence to do for you guys. And man, we covered this thing. I was live. I was live for the first hour and 10 minutes. And then the next morning, you guys got the full review. And in both instances, I couldn't believe how bored I was. I could not believe that nothing on this show was worth mentioning or talking about the next morning. Nothing. With your buddies at school, with your coworkers, the next day on the job site, none of it. And I couldn't believe, but I absolutely could believe that, you know, you were starting to hear a lot of fans start to blame the crowd and creators, podcasters, blaming the crowd and not Hunter Helmsley for producing a bad show. They blamed the crowd for not bringing energy and for not creating a better atmosphere. What were they supposed to cheer about and for, dumbass? I'll say it again. Is it Pat McAfee standing on a commentary table, issuing a challenge to Gunther? Is that supposed to make them just jump out of their seats in exuberation? ecstatic to a whole nother level, calling their mamas and papas. Guy, you're not going to believe what just happened. Pat McAfee stood on the commentary table. He said an F word. He said the F word. Was it Jey Uso super kicking Logan Paul? Did they not yeet loud enough or enough for you? Were they kind of bored of the yeeting, and that's why WWE even cut that short to only 5 minutes instead of 20? Because they didn't yeet enough? And according to Hunter, they're not real fans if they don't yeet enough? What were they supposed to cheer for, guys? Sami Zayn is their biggest story of the night. Sami Zayn, a guy who wasn't even at Mania. And they paid all this money to watch Raw, and they got a guy who wasn't even a part of the build for Mania, wasn't even at Mania, and he's your big storyline. And what's the storyline, by the way? I have a decision to make. Do I get beat up by Braun Breaker and have a match with Braun? Or do I go to SmackDown? And I can get the winner of Cena and Orton. And I brought this up earlier. I never finished the thought. A lot of you guys were bringing up the inconsistencies in this story. How would he just get a random title match? And if that's the case, why wouldn't Seth get that? If Paul Heyman has that kind of power, have Seth go over to SmackDown and get that championship match. I mean, Heyman's got the power to do such. But he gives a championship match to Sami Zayn. There's so many inconsistencies, but that's WWE. And you can go top to bottom. War Raiders, Judgment Day, Stephanie Vakir. I love Stephanie. We all do, right? Good to see her wrestle. But she's defeating Ivy Nile with no storyline. Nothing happened afterwards. Nothing beforehand. It leads to nothing. What's the purpose? You're just getting a wrestling match on a wrestling show where there's a concept. Sure, you can go to the local bingo hall and get that any day of the week. Probably can get in for free. Or just throw them a buck. And get some good wrestling action with some good wrestlers. The show sucked. The main event was Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn again. You've seen this match a bunch of times on Monday Night Raw. On PLEs. So Kansas City was so fucking bored, they whipped out their cell phones and they just started fucking just going into business for themselves, and I actually could not blame them. I was just as bored. I mean, they're just trying to wake themselves up at that point. I can't stand when crowds hijack a show. Trust me, I can't stand it. There's a line between having fun and adding to the atmosphere and then just being idiots. But they didn't care. They were telling Hunter Helmsley, this is boring AF and we have to let you know. So I am so fucking proud of KC for doing that. They whipped cell phones out during the main event. And when Sami Zayn was getting beat down, they yelled one more time and they cheered. Why? Because they didn't give a fuck about Samuel Zayn just because some marks in the IWC or some other arenas and the fans that attend cheer for Sami Zayn because he's relatable. I like Sami. He's relatable, you know. He's such a good wrestler. He deserves championships. We're done with that. We're done. We want to get that feeling back that we used to get with pro wrestling, man. And Samuel Zayn isn't it right now. Book him properly. Keeping him off of television, off of one of your biggest event of the year, and then just thrusting him into this stupid whack-ass story on Monday night, that's not the way to go about it, man. His decision. Do I have a match with Braun Breaker or go to SmackDown? Wow, man, I can't. I'm putting the remote down. I don't have to watch NBA playoffs. I don't have to watch my Yankees. I mean, I got to see what happens with the decision. Sami Zayn, who the company hasn't cared about for the longest of times, so why the fuck should we? But on Monday, they said, now you should care about Sami. No, it doesn't work that way. I'm not going to fabricate a feeling or an emotion. And KC didn't. So you got a bunch of dumbasses that go, oh, man, the show was good. It's just the crowd, man. They were so out of it. And so, I mean, man, don't even go back to KC. What happened to that crowd? Are you serious? What happened to the show? It sucked. That's why the crowd acted the way they did. It was justified because they were witnessing horrible garbage television from Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the chief of bullshit. But of course, it's 2025, and even on this platform, it's filled with a bunch of absolute WWE shills that just want to blow smoke up Hunter's ass to the point where they won't even mention Hunter's name. Forget turning a blind eye when shit's bad, which is 99.99% of the time, like a Clorox wipe. But forget that. Forget just not even mentioning or just passing it by real quick, right? If you do have to discuss it, and they just mention WWE as a whole, right? WWE botched. WWE came together with some bad booking this past Monday night or Friday night. WWE is the booker? Do you mean Hunter? Say the words. We can do this, man. ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and then we'll learn how to say Hunter Helmsley sucks. We can do this, man. We can do this. We'll do this. And then maybe we'll do some math afterwards. Just addition and subtraction. No algebra, nothing like that. But ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, then we're going to learn how to say Hunter Hearst Helmsley booked a bad show again, and then we'll do some math maybe. But forget the fact that they'll just breeze right over it and just say it's WWE as a whole. But it's the fact that they won't even say the dude's name if it's not in a positive way. It's like they really want to get employment one day, which is never going to happen, by the way, because a kiss ass will never hire kiss asses. They always want to make sure they are the elite of the elite. So that's not how it works. They usually want the people that are against so they can try to conform and become their papa. Get CM Punk and try to get him under my wing. Bring in the Ultimate Warrior, even though he could not stand me at WrestleMania 12, but I'm going to bring him in and show him that, see, I'm the boss now, and I'm going to put you in the Hall of Fame. But these people won't even mention the dudes. In pro wrestling, WWE more specifically can't be as good as it should be because enough people are blowing smoke up the dude's ass and telling him he's doing great. This feels amazing. We just had the worst Mania season of all fucking time. I'll go back to WrestleMania 9, WrestleMania 13. I don't even care. I'll take them. WrestleMania 11. I'll take all of the builds. I don't care how bad they may have been. I'll take those WrestleManias over anything that we just witnessed the last 3-4 months. 3 to 4 months. This whole Mania season has been that bad. And there's people willing to just let go of the whole season. Like, okay, it was just a bad season. Just a few bad shows. This is kind of, confusing, or this doesn't make sense, or this is, I'm just not feeling WWE, I'm not feeling pro wrestling right now, but it's not Hunter. It's not Hunter. He's doing amazing. Most of the time, it's bad, but still, if you take away that, he's doing amazing. There's enough people that are spewing enough bullshit that Hunter can get by on it, like riding a wave. Like, okay, there's still enough bullshit. But he saw this Mania season that there's more and more of people like BC saying, no, enough. No more sugarcoating, no more bullshitting, no more sugarcoating to the point where this dude can literally keep doing and giving the same bullshit while taking more and more of our money. Taking more and more from us, but giving us less and less. We said enough. That's it. No more. And he saw that, and that's why he he lashed out at fans this whole Mania season. He lashed out, said we're not real fans, said to F off, F you. Explicitly lashed out at fans in several interviews because he started to feel the heat finally. All the people that said he's cooking, well, now we're saying, you know what? It's getting a little hot in that kitchen, and clearly Hunter couldn't take the heat, so he started lashing out. But there's still enough people to allow him to get by. But more and more that is changing in shows like Monday Night, when now the live crowd is telling Hunter Helmsley that this shit sucks. Now we're starting to truly see it, because that's what he was hanging his hat on, right? The live crowds are loving my booking. But then when you get a crowd like Monday Night, when BC told you from top to bottom this show sucked, now all of a sudden the crowd is to blame. The crowd was lazy, not Hunter Helmsley's creative. The crowd was boring, not the show itself. The crowd should have brought more energy, not the show itself. I thought it's the show's responsibility to not be lazy and to bring energy and to get people excited. It's the show's responsibility. It's Hunter Helmsley's responsibility. And you get a bad show like we got, and the crowd revolted against it, and you still get the WWE shills that say, I thought it was a good show. The crowd is what made it bad. The crowd, man, they took out their cell phones during the main event, and they didn't care about the main event. No, really? They didn't care about Seth or Braun Breaker, Sami Zayn for the 100th time because there's a decision that was made? Sami decided he's going to have a match with Braun. That's what we waited 2.5 hours for. Jey Uso super kicked Logan Paul in a weird-ass 4.5-minute segment. Stephanie Vicure was on the show. Yay! She beat Ivy Nile. Then we went to commercial. War Raiders took on Judgment Day. Yeah, man, JD McDonald's was in action. And Finn Balor, who hasn't been relevant since the Demon days. Hey, sad but true. Harsh but true. Hot take but true. Top to bottom, this show sucked. It was boring. It was lifeless. It had no steam to it. No momentum. There was nothing to care about. Nothing was fun. And the crowd told you that. So you can blame the crowds all you want when shows are boring, bad, and lazy. But eventually you will have to look at the show and the producer, the dude in the credits after every show that pops up, Paul Levesque McMahon. Yeah, that's Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He's telling you who produced the garbage. So if the crowds are not happy with it in attendance, just imagine the majority that are watching at home or in that bar or wherever they are. They're probably even more bored than the live crowd. Eventually, you have to be honest about it. Hunter Helmsley created a lazy, boring, bad show. Again. I'm proud of KC. They didn't fabricate a feeling that was not there because they were witnessing a poor, lazy, bad, pathetic show. And they told Hunter Helmsley live. The shills will continue to say, it's not Hunter, man. That was a good show, man. It was a good show. You see the decision? Man, Sami Zayn, man, I can't believe the fans didn't care about Sami and were cheering him getting annihilated. That crowd, man, they were bad. The shills are going to continue to shill. That's what a shill does. But the real fans who want to see this company and pro wrestling to be the best that it can be, we will continue to spit that truth. No matter how hard that may be for some to digest, and whether they can even digest it, it no longer matters. Because we're not fans anymore, according to Hunter. Now we're critics. Now we can be as ruthless as ever. And we're going to make sure this company gets back on track, whether Helmsley is on board or not. It's the way it is. And that is your main story. Good job, KC. Great job, crowd in attendance on Monday night. You didn't fake your reactions. Love that. And you told Hunter Helmsley the show sucked. And I see more and more people doing that. Salute. Let's go over to NXT real quick, man. Or do you want to do the Collision radio? Let's do Collision. Check this out. This is wild. Collision drew over 700,000 viewers this past week. You heard that right, man. That's not a typo. A .21 demo, by the way. So if these are sounding like more what a Dynamite should be, or should be even more than that, but what a Dynamite would be these days, that's because it is. In fact, Dynamite could only be so happy right now to score a 700K. Now, huge asterisk, as I said in my cold open. A big part of this is a lead-in was the NBA playoffs. And it was a pretty good, hotly contested game. And it was like a lead-in that wasn't even just 8. I think it was like 8:30. So, I mean, it was a genuine big lead-in halfway through the hour. So, that was massive. And the game itself scored over $3 million up front. So, Yes, a lot of this is contributed to that NBA lead-in, but a dub is a dub. You take that victory, you run like you just robbed a bank, you don't look back. You just keep going. Don't worry about passing. Go collecting the 200. Just take what you got, which is this massive W, and keep going until you can't go no more, until next Saturday. That's what my advice to Tony Khan would be. Take this dub because you beat NXT for a week. That's it, man. Doesn't matter how you got there sometimes, right? But they've been, they've hit 4 and even 500K in recent memory. So Collision has something, and I've said that for a while. I always said Rampage, it was too much too soon. Tony Khan tried to be Vince McMahon in WWE within his first 5 years. You can't do that, man. It took Vince McMahon years and years before he got Monday Night Raw. And then a few more years after till he got SmackDown. In 5 years, Tony Khan had Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, had a whole nother organization, ROH. He had a lot going on. A lot. And I'm like, whoa, you don't want to hold off? Get Dynamite situated, maybe 1.516 as a steady average audience, then maybe come up with a second show down the pipeline. But no, he wanted it all real fast, and that was a detriment. Rampage started struggling. That kind of leaked into Dynamite struggling. Then they thought the answer was to add a third show, Collision. Collision started struggling, when Collision I thought was good. And then that leaked more into a disruptive struggling of Rampage, which led to even more disruptive struggling of Dynamite. It was a domino effect. And before you know it, all 3 shows were struggling to get $750,000 and then $500,000. And then we know what happened to Rampage, unfortunately. But it was the best move to do. Cut it down to 2 shows, and even that's too much. I would still today have 1 show. I don't care, man. If I'm Tony Khan, situate Dynamite. But I said when Rampage was still around with Collision, I said, Collision, there's something here, man. There's some weeks I would watch Collision and I would enjoy it more, not captivated. And that's what you want to be for wrestling. Captivated, not just enjoying it. But these days, man, if I can enjoy pro wrestling like I would a Sunday, then, okay, let's go. You know what I mean? Just put on an entertaining show. And I would enjoy Collision more than I would Dynamite some weeks. So that's when I really started to take notice. There's something on this Collision. I used to like how they started the show. It was old school Saturday night's main event, where the matches that they had for the night, they would do quick little promos. And, they put some thought into the theme song. What was it? The Elton John, or was it Saturday Night's All Right? Something like that. The colors. I just thought the presentation, everything for Collision was really good. I was not shocked when Collision started to outpace Rampage. And when one of them got Das Boot, it was Rampage. I wasn't shocked. And there are still many elements of Collision today, even though I can't watch it in totality anymore. Saturday nights especially, just way too busy, obviously. But so that's just a detriment to the night that it falls on. But there's still so many elements of Collision that I like way more than what I see on Dynamite. So my point is, yes, the NBA lead-in is the big reason for 700,000+ viewers in a .21 demo. And I'm pretty sure when the quarterlies come out, you probably see within that first hour a big drop. But to act like Collision wasn't pulling in several 100,000 already, well, that's BS, because they were. There's some weeks where they will pull over 4 and get close to 5, maybe even top 5. So it's not like they were pulling in $150,000, 200,000 like a Rampage and NBA brought them 500,000 viewers. That's not the case. So take your W no matter how you got it in this case. 700K in a .21 demo. Congrats to Tony Khan and Collision. Man, that's one of those things you look at it and you have to do a quadruple take. What? Is that a typo? 700K. Dynamite can't even get that. NXT didn't get that last week. 686, I believe. Speaking of NXT, I'm going to talk a little bit because the first segment, I was actually changing the channel when that segment was over. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. What was that? Let's talk about it. NXT for the 29th of April of the year 2025. Joe Hendry was out first. I loved it. right? They say his name. He appeared. Here's Joe Hendry. The song's blaring. He hits his pose to the hard cam. He cuts a pretty good promo on Trick Williams. The lights go out, and Dark State is in the ring, and they attack Joe Hendry. And we do the weird Wyatt, right? They go to these weird graphics, and then we go to like a commercial or something. Change the channel. Nope. I'll be back for the women's action and to see Ricky Starks. You know, I kept turning back, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, my Knicks are on, my Yankees are on, and you're giving me Dark State? Come on, stop. Dark State. And I know there's going to be we just talked about there's going to be so many basically they got potential, man. You got to check out this one, and there's so much potential, and I think if booked properly, they can be okay. Maybe they are just generic AF. I see the little graphic, right? Like next week, a Hank, a Tank, and I think it's Joe Hendry are going to take on 3 members of Dark State, I believe, right? And I see the graphic, and I'm looking at these, they're nobodies. I'm just going to call it like it is. I hope they have great careers. I hope I became a big fan in the day, right? Big fan of all of these Dark State members in the future. But for right now, there's no other way I can put it to you. They are so blah. Like, I don't even know I don't want to know who they are. I don't care about their names. I don't care about what they're doing. I get Retribution vibes. For some reason, they have a Wyatt gimmick where they go into some weird, crazy, like, in and out graphics. If you watch NXT, you probably know what I'm talking about. I can't even describe it. So they have Retribution elements, Wyatt elements. They're a bunch of nobodies. They just grabbed a bunch of kids and they're like, dude, we're going to give you all a piece of our rocket all at the same time. What? And then the lights go out like they're Undertaker or Wyatt's. That's just 4 random dudes. Like frat kids. It's like a frat. Like a fraternity. 4 dudes. Fresh off the Performance Center. Lights out, Wyatt graphics, beating the hell out of Joe Hendry. No, man, I don't care about this fucking group, and I think the presentation is stupid. I don't get it. It's bootleg Retribution vibes, and Retribution absolutely shit the bed for good reasoning. It's weird. It's so fucking odd, man. No, I changed the channel. I don't want to see it. Tell me how you really feel, BC. I'm done with this. I can't stand the concept of it. Who thought this was a good idea? NXT is so overcrowded as it is. To try to get everybody TV time, it's so hard. And there's so many good talents. And they bring four or five, whatever it is. They just bring a bunch of dudes in, give them all this TV time and a straight shoot rocket. What? Who are these people? I don't even want. No, I'm not even asking. I don't even care. Moving on. Some of the things that I was able to catch, because I was flicking back. Sol Ruka, damn. Soul Snatcher on, who was it? Carmen Petrovic, I think is who it was. And then she took out Ashanti afterwards. Had enough with him. But it was that Soul Snatcher and Sol Ruka. I just get the one long word, right? Damn! Sol Ruka. She is so good. When she's on TV, you just got to put the remote down because she's going to entertain you in a wild way, man. Also for the ladies, the main event was Roxy and Julia taking on Io, Sky, and Jordan Grace. Io and Jordan defeat Roxy and Julia, so another loss for Roxy. In fact, Roxy was looking up at the lights again. So Julia and Roxy are running away on Monday night. And then 24 hours later, they're looking up at the lights to collecting another L. Awesome. I just don't get this booking for Roxy to just put her on a losing streak. And I'm sure fans will be like, don't worry, man. When the time is right, she'll start winning, BC. Yes, that's how it goes. I understand that. But you're just digging a hole unnecessarily. And if it gets too deep, she has to dig out of that. We're not going to forget that she can just lose 100 matches in a row. That's a problem because she's so good. Weird booking for Roxy, man. Good main event, though. The power of Jordan Grace, man. And just how good Julia and Io and Roxy are as well, man. But Jordynne Grace, man, it ain't just power. She's really good. I mean, if you tell me she's holding all the championships at once, I probably wouldn't bat an eyelash or have a problem with it. Ricky Saints defeated Lexis King. This match didn't really deliver like I was hoping. Lexis King is a really good character. I see so many great things with Lexis King. Ricky Starks is going to go on to be one of the greatest, I feel, of the last 10 years. I ain't getting carried away, but I do believe Ricky Starks has all the tools needed to be something so special. I was hoping this match delivered a little bit, made me feel a little bit more than it did, but it just didn't. And there wasn't even enough time to do such. What else? Tony D and Stax, the confrontation, but Stax was up on the Tron, says, no. I'm sick of taking your commands. I'm not going to show up on your snap of a finger. But he says, careful, because you can't really trust anybody these days. And the security gets in the ring and attacks Tony D. Tony D would end up getting the upper hand. And says, basically, something like, you want to be the Don, you want to be the guy, you still got to prove that you can be. Basically, you're still going to have to come face-to-face with Tony D. So I thought that was pretty good as well. And that's basically NXT. Again, it's a shame that this... I just don't know what we're doing with this dark state. It's just, they don't know the identity, like what they're supposed to be character-wise. And it's just a really bad presentation. Why are these frat kids, these randoms, why are they getting like the lights out treatment, the Wyatt graphics as if they're supernatural? And then it's just retribution, like just a bunch of like kids that are rebelling against their parents. Like I get those cheesy, corny, cringe vibes. We'll see. I'm not digging it. That was NXT. Had its ups, had its downs. At least I can say it was better than Raw, but that's not creating a good benchmark, right? I mean, the bar is so low for Monday Night Raw. I mean, all you got to do is send out Sol Ruca the next night on NXT. You probably already beat Raw. Let's talk talent, man. Talent in WWE. You see this story. I think this was Fightful. The same people that broke the story that people were contacting Fightful to try to find out if they're faces or heels in the company. A lot of the females, especially, they didn't know what they are. And it was hurting it was a detriment because they didn't know how they should be acting in their promos when they get to the ring. Is this leading to me being face or should I be more heel? It was starting to affect how they were being received and how they go about their business. Fightful broke that story. Well, they're also breaking this story that a lot of the wrestlers found out about their WrestleMania plans from the chalkboard that was in the Unreal trailer for Netflix. So a lot of the ones that didn't even have a match or they didn't know their plans in advance, like they were never even talked to. Like at least back in the day, Vince would be like, "This is where I think where we're going with you, kid. Well, I'll tell you next week." Like Hunter tells them nothing. And so they don't know like what they should be working toward. Like, they don't even know if they have a match at Mania. So I guess a lot of wrestlers were telling Fightful like, dude, we didn't even know those were the plans. Like we knew nothing. There's no transparency. Now I understand loose plans, right? You don't want to tell anybody anything until you know for sure that that's the road you want. But it's pretty clear that was the road that they were. So you at least fill them in. This is what we're thinking. This is what you can look forward to in case you want to adjust some things or think in advance. Not 100. We'll keep you updated. They knew nothing. They were like, wait, that's what they had for me? They knew nothing. And this is a bigger story. It's not just that, guys. If you put all of these stories together, the one common denominator that they all have in common is that Hunter Helmsley has no transparency at all, delivers none with his talent. None. The only time he comes across talent is if he's giving Papa H speeches. He does not tell them anything because he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know what he's doing the next day, much less that night or the next week. The next PLE, he doesn't know. That's why Jey Uso found out the day of the Rumble hours before that he's even winning the Rumble. That's why. That's a real story. Hunter brought in Jonathan Cena, Jason Uso, Logan Paul, CM Punk, and he said, we decided, and we're going to go Jey Uso. Hours before the event. That's why. That's why this is happening, guys. That's why they don't know. That's why all the stories leading up to Mania. The talent didn't even know if they were having a match. I'm talking days and hours before the show. They didn't know if they were going to have a match. Are we just going to be on Smack? Nobody's told us anything. That's just the latest story of how much there is, or how little transparency there is, how there's just zero transparency in this company. And how, man, just picture working somewhere not knowing your direction. I mean, that's got to be so, like, not knowing your character, how your character should be, because your boss is giving you all these mixed signals, right? The signals, like, go out there, you're going to have a face versus face match. And then on the next show, you're going to have a face and face promo. And then we're going to have you take on a big heel next Friday. So be ready for. So how should I be should I be like hard on the audience? Because if I'm going back to facing the heel, I'm going to want the reception, right? Like them to. And then not knowing like what your next feud, if you even have a feud, do you have a storyline? Do you have a storyline? Do you have a match at the upcoming BLE? There's no transparency. I'll leave it at that. It's imagine working at a job where your boss tells you nothing at all times. Probably not a good experience, right? Probably would suck. A lot of you guys are probably like, that is my job, BC. That's basically my boss. Well, then you know how much it sucks. And then there was Raw's rating, man. It's 7 days. It's 7 days off. So this is the number for the post-Mania Raw, not this week. And this is hailed as the biggest Raw of the year every year. So they were expecting a huge bump, U.S. domestic and globally. They got the global one pretty damn good because they fell all the way to a 2.9, even a 2.8, guys. I think at last count, it was like 2.9 sem-odd. Globally, this is coming off a near 6 million global debut on the 6th of January, and they already got less than half of that cut off, or more than half cut out. More than half of the debuting Netflix audience for Monday Night Raw checked out already. So globally, the post-Mania Raw, garnered a 3.58 global. So if you take the aforementioned 2.9 sem-odd, they got over 600,000 viewers globally added on. So that sounds about accurate, right? That's why the company got themselves out of the States this year, and that's going to continue next year. And for the next couple of years, most likely. They've already sucked up all the pennies from US. US, they're not selling out like they used to. They had to cut out live shows because they couldn't even fill half the arenas. US, they maxed out everybody's credit card. So now they're taking the show out of the country. And those are the ones that are showing up, and they're trying to get them more invested. So globally, 600,000 plus viewers watched that show, more than the previous week. So decent bump there, I'd say. U.S. domestic. Now here is where WWE is probably proclaiming at the highest of mountains, the loudest they can scream, "We demand a recount." Because U.S. domestic. Now, these are the numbers that for some reason Netflix just does not. They're adamant that they don't want out there for some reason. It's just global numbers they'll distribute. And even that's like pulling teeth sometimes. And by the way, globally is over the course of 7 days. So that 3.58, that's not in one night, guys. That's 7 days of viewership counting. So they stretch it a whole week. And they still got that. They were only able to get the 3.58. But US, they don't distribute those numbers. So a bunch of us numbers guys has to come up with a variety of different ways to come up with the best number possible. And so take this with a grain of salt. It's in the realm, but this is the closest number that we can come up with. And their average 1.213 over the last 2 months since they've really debuted. They fell like a rock pretty instantly. Not a Dwayne Johnson. And they kind of just went into this 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 area. Guys, the U.S. number that we're coming up with, a 136. So there was not this bump for the U.S. audience. So 600,000 plus globally makes sense. You would think that $150 to 250,000 more U.S. Even if it's a poor show, and that was actually that's surprises, debuts, good wrestling. It's right after Mania, so people are like, whoa, what's the fallout? So, they put all their eggs into that basket. So you would think the U.S. domestic would have been raised, especially over the course of 7 days. 136. That's really odd, man. And that is concerning, alarming, and that's a red flag for WWE. Because if that holds up, that tells you that they are really losing the U.S. market. And if that Monday crowd is any indication, that's just further proof of such. Globally, nice bump. They needed that. U.S. domestic, wow. That is a tall tale sign of losing your U.S. market. And I think they know that, man. That's why they cut the live events. They couldn't even sell out half the arenas. The word that was being tossed around behind the scenes in World Wrestling Entertainment, Stamford, Connecticut, embarrassing crowds. Because they couldn't pull them in for live. So dude, this is getting embarrassing. Let's just cut live events. They were starting to lose them money. Interesting. 358 globally, 136 is the number we're coming up with. U.S. domestic. Wild, man. If you lose your U.S. audience, good luck just keeping everything overseas. I say that, but in a couple of years, they could be owned by Saudi Arabia, man. I mean, that's the honest truth. This is no more Vince McMahon or a little family owning it, even though it's publicly traded. This is Endeavor. They've already sold out to Silver Lake. Silver Lake could then sell it a year or two from now. That's how business operates. This could easily wind up in Saudi Arabia. So talking about the U.S. market and how it needs to still be the centerpiece, not necessarily. Because Saudi could end up being that centerpiece if they own it. That's what I got for you guys, man. Wow. We packed a lot into this hour plus. What was it? Yeah, roughly. We packed a lot. I told you, packed, stacked, and jacked, man. Amped up Wednesday. We're going to end the month the right way. You guys are amplified this entire month. So it was only fitting, man, to show you guys even more amplification as a sign of thanks, respect, and a massive salute for an incredible month, man. WrestleMania is now officially in the rear view as we enter May. And that's probably a good thing with the season that we just had with this WrestleMania, man. It's probably a good thing that we can now put it in the past, forget about it, hopefully, and hopefully never have to mention it again. Unfortunately, we will have to mention Hunter's shitty-ass booking. Lazy, boring, bad, because that doesn't look like it's changing. But that'll be a source, a topic for another day, because this amped up is over. 44 dive, that's a wrap. Until next time, and there will be that next time. BC in the unit saying check you. Salute!